everybody. I'm Jack Dibee, principal at Ely Elementary School. Welcome, and today I thought I would take you on a little tour of our school. Right now, we're standing in the school gym and cafeteria and gathering place. It's a little bit warm in here today. Dog days of summer, it's a nice comfy 84 degrees inside the gym right now, but it's a little bit better than it is some days. So looking around, we use this for our PE classes. We have assemblies in here. We have lunch in here. It's a nice big area. And this building was built in 1921. So you'll get to see some of the things that we've done to Ely School to make it live up to the modern times so that our students are able to attend a school that is designed for 21st century learners back in 1921. So follow me, let's go. So we are getting ready to enter the main hallway, and before we go too far, I wanted to point out our fantastic staff at Ely School. These are our staff selfies. Our building is pretty involved in technology, and each year we have a different theme. Last year we did QR codes, and this year staff took selfies of themselves and did that for our bulletin board. And right across from here, well, in 1921 they probably didn't think very much about needing nurses' offices, but this little closet is the clinic. It has everything a nurse could need for her office except for a sink and a restroom and a little private area, but this is what we do to get by. And in our main hallway, on this floor we have our kindergarten, first and second grade classrooms. And I'll take you a tour along the hallway. We'll go and check out a few of the classrooms, and you'll notice throughout the building, in the hallways and in the classrooms, we still have the good old radiator system. If you want it to get warmer, you don't have to worry about adjusting your digital thermometer. You just crank the little handheld button here and it'll get really warm or really cold depending on what you want. And here's our old-fashioned fire alarm system. I think that's probably an Ely original. It's actually one of the old pool bar types. You don't see those very often anymore. But the building, for being built in 1921, is in very clean, nice condition. Our staff has done an amazing job. You can look in the hallways right now and see the reflections, see all the hard work that went into it. And you'll also see lots of these in the building. In fact, 19 of them to be exact. And these are our Wi-Fi hotspots. And our Wi-Fi hotspots allow our students to use technology for all of the various devices that we have. We have Chromebooks, Nexuses, laptop computers, desktop computers, and kids bring their own devices from home to use at school as well. So come on down. Let's just step in one of the classrooms here. Well, a lot of our classrooms have the old hardwood floors, and you know, the custodial staff works really hard to keep them clean each year and to keep them in good condition, but they've certainly been beat up over the years. The school's 94 years old, and this is an original floor for these classrooms. The windows are about 12 years old. They came when I came. And again, we've got the old radiators, but the classrooms are a nice sized classroom. They're actually still have the original chalkboards that we've since used them as magnetic boards, and now we have smart boards in every classroom. If you look up in the ceiling, you can see that this school was built with the high ceilings. We had to do a lot of adapting to get the smart boards and to get power up here, but the custodial staff did a fantastic job, the maintenance staff, in making that happen, and all of our classrooms have smart boards and modern technology.
And IT.
And IT services did a fantastic job as well. In fact, our classrooms, talk about the good old days of the cloakrooms. We still have cloakrooms at Ely School on the first floor. This is Grandma, Grandpa's cloakroom is still in existence here, and when we get upstairs, we'll show you the lockers, but they even have the built-in cabinets and drawers, and you know, there's some really cool functions that you just don't find in new schools. There's the little vent to go into the flue for a little bit of airflow underneath the floor over there. And yeah, that's the air duct right up there running across the top of the cloakroom. So back in the day, you really didn't try and hide anything the way that builders do. Now it's all kind of there for you to see. And actually, we have about 4 classrooms where the floors were so bad we actually had to put new floors in a couple years ago. We couldn't get things level on them, and they were just buckling so bad that we had to put a floating floor over the original floor. This is actually one of the classrooms that had that in there. And there's Miss Kaywood, one of our brand new first-year teachers, a kindergarten teacher. How are you? She's working hard, sticking around, and so, all right. Well, let's go upstairs. Ironically, when they built this building, they built it in the shape of an E. So you really can't get from one end of upstairs to the other all the way around the way that you can on this floor, because on the main floor, they built the gym that has a hallway behind it. Well, upstairs you either go up one side or up the other, and if you end up on the 5th grade wing, you can't really cut across to the 3rd grade wing. So we'll take the shortcut up here through the middle. Put new weather strips on all of the stairs, and a little not so unknown fact about Ely School is there's actually no way into the building where you don't go up at least a half a flight of stairs. So you have at least 16 stairs to get in any entrance of Ely School, and if you're wondering, there's over 400 stairs in the building. Don't remember the exact number, but we did the math before. So the top floor is our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade classrooms, and the classrooms are pretty similar to what you saw downstairs. Again, we have the original floor, have the cloakroom, brand new smartboard. We've updated some of our smartboards already, and they do get hot and they do get cold. Got the radiators running the length here, and depending on which side of the building you're on, if the sun is beaming in, it's kind of like an oven, and in the winter when you don't get the sun, it kind of gets a little bit cold. But again, if we get too cold, we just look for the radiator nozzle, which is actually back over in that corner. We turn it by hand and the heat comes back up. And this is a 4th grade math classroom in here. One of the things that we had to have done in order to get internet across the classrooms is some of the rooms actually have the internet connectivity running across the rooms. And in this case, we had the computers were back here. We were forced to look at where there are outlets. There's no outlets at all on this wall, and there was not enough power on that wall to run them over here, so we had to run power onto this wall, run the internet cords across. So that's been one of the challenges in a lot of the classrooms, is where to put the computers. We do have a nice number of computers available, but again, we're limited on what the constraints are from when the building was built. I did this once in my life. It was last year. If I ever need to check out things in the roof, come on in. There's plenty of room here. So see this ladder here? I actually climbed up that ladder with my head custodian last year and one of the maintenance department employees. That roof flies up, and that's how you get onto the roof. We were having a lot of issues with roof leaks for a couple years, and it got really bad last year. And I actually had to go up on the roof and check some things out so that I knew exactly what was going on and what was being done to alleviate the problems, because we had tiles that were leaking, water was coming in, we had rain coming in some of the teachers' closets on this floor, we had lockers getting wet, and we've since redone a major part of the roof to alleviate it. But again, you still have all of the old joints, all of the old areas where the building meets the windows, and all of the issues with the brick and the flat roof, and so it was quite a challenge. But I have to admit, once I got up there, I was scared. Okay, and again, probably don't notice it when you're walking down the hallway, but again, here's how we're getting power to various places in the building. Not so hidden. Got boxes and lines running everywhere, and it does the job. So we'll keep going this way. Next stop will be, oh, you know what? While we're here, not only do we have our regular size classrooms, you don't see these in the new modern schools, but this is, some people might think this is just an electrical closet. Not at Ely School. This is a reading classroom. We were able to convert that into a space that we needed so we can have small group reading in here. Again, yeah, concrete slab ceiling. Got brick running all the way around, but we didn't have any other space to do this, and we have a few classrooms like this that are used for small group tutoring. The teachers do a fantastic job making them inviting and nice for the kids, but again, it's not an ideal situation for what we would want to accomplish. This is our media center. We have a fantastic selection of books in here. All of our kids get to use the library every week. They can come check out books during the week whenever they need to. Obviously the floor here is not completely level. We've had issues with the carpet and all that, but again, we've patched things together the best that we can to make it presentable for the kids without the expense of all new carpeting. And we have a little collection back here. I'm really not sure why we've kept these, but we have. But we used to put screens in the windows to keep bugs and flies out, but they didn't stay in very well, and they were dirty, and there was always an issue with keeping them from falling in or falling out. So now we just try and use the air conditioning in here and not really open the windows if we don't have to, because unfortunately, we sometimes get birds that like to fly into the building, and we actually had one at lunchtime the other day, and the bird got scared and left on its own, but it's not unusual to have birds or other winged things, bugs, insects that like to come in if we try and get too much fresh air, because in this case, no screens. So. But the air conditioning feels good in here. This room, believe it or not, was our computer lab at one time. We had 28 computers jammed into this room, and it was a challenge to say the least. We didn't have the space, we didn't have the opportunity to do things to make it an effective computer situation for the kids. We even had the health department telling us we were trying to cram too many kids into this room, that even though it wasn't against code, it wasn't a great environment, and we knew that. So when we go downstairs and look at the new computer lab, we actually split a classroom, an older classroom, and we made part of it a computer lab and part of it a workroom. But this, again, this is another Title I reading room. Our 4th and 5th graders come in here, and this is not a bad room for a small group. It's just not a great room for 28 computers. All right, let's go this way. If you ever wanted to see what the computer system looks like for a building, there it is. All those wires connect all of the computers up here and make sure everything is running, and again, not what this room was designed for. It doesn't really have the greatest ventilation, but we do have a hole in the ceiling, so they can get a little bit of ventilation up there, but really the hole is to get the cords in somehow. Okay. And we'll continue walking down the hallway here. We're walking down into the third grade wing. This classroom has something no other room has. It has its own little balcony. Yes. This is our balcony. I know in a 5-star hotel you'd pay a lot of extra money to have a balcony in your hotel room, but here we have one free of charge. And this room gets very hot, unfortunately. A lot of that has to do with the balcony restricting the airflow a little bit, but looks very nice from the outside. Again, on one of the older floors, and fortunately for our students, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders all have their own lockers, and these are actually very nice lockers. They're pretty large, and it allows the kids when they switch classes to be able to easily grab their belongings and get what they need. But it's a nice feature. Obviously it wasn't built into the school, but gives the kids another sense of belonging. And once again, here we are. There's the radiator. And again, too hot, too cold, feel free to make your own adjustment. Except for any kids that are watching this at home, please don't make any adjustments if you're hot or cold. See the change in the floor here? This actually was a second section of Ely School. I don't know the exact time. I think it was in the mid-1940s. There was an addition made to Ely School, and these last couple rooms, and the same thing downstairs where the gym area was closed off, is actually an addition to the original part of the building. All right, let's go downstairs. Come on in. Any of you that went to Ely School probably in the 50s or 60s, this room might look familiar to you. This used to be a locker room. In fact, not only was it a locker room, we still have a bathroom in here and a sink closet, and this is where the shower was. You can actually see the drain. Well, you can't see the drain on the floor because it's covered up, but there's a drain right here on this side, and there's another drain over here. But we were able to make this into a classroom and an office. So again, another one of the things that you can do with an old building. And we have 2 different teachers work in this area, the intervention specialists, and they did a nice job decorating their locker room into an attractive classroom. Yeah. And don't worry, even though this was a boys' locker room, we used the girls' locker room for something too, and I'll show you that next. We'll cut through the gym because there's really no easy way to get to any part of this building, but this might be the most exciting part of the tour, because for kids and parents who've never seen what a teacher's lounge looks like, you're going to get to see it, because the girls' locker room is now a teacher's lounge. Come on in. Look at this. This is where they eat, and unfortunately it's also where we store a lot of books they need for reading. But yes, it's true, teachers have their own soda machine. And if I drank soda, I would buy some, but I don't drink soda. But there's where the showers were, in this locker room and the bathrooms, and nice high ceilings. Not going to find many ceilings built like this nowadays, but it caused us a few issues trying to run internet and power into here as well. You can see the internet connections coming out of the wall, and this was the only place we could actually run the computer because we only have 2 lines in here for the breakers, and if we put too many things on one line, the other things kept tripping the breakers. So a microwave and a computer on the same breaker doesn't work. Okay. We're going to go downstairs all the way into the basement. Make a quick pit stop on the way because if you look all the way through this chain link fence, we have a very nice courtyard there that our parent group, Ely Pride Parents Group, put together. It's been about a dozen years or so, but it's still maintained well, and sometimes teachers take their kids out there to read, and it's a nice place to go and to see what's going on. And this is a storage area, and this is always a fun place just to check out because you never know what you'll find in here, or if you can get the door open. Kind of just like the catch-all junk storage place for anything we need. There are copy papers in here, cleaning supplies. If anyone is missing a bike, these bikes have been in here for about 10 years. We're really not sure whose they are, but you could call Amy Higgins' office and she might be able to help you locate those. All right, let's go back into the building. Okay, sorry, that door doesn't lock very well.
I honestly say I've never been in that room before.
Really?
Yeah, that's our first time.
Come on in. All right, we're going to go down here. Down here we have an art and a music room. This actually used to all be an art room. That wall didn't exist when I first came here, but after Cascade School closed and we absorbed another 190 students, we subdivided a couple rooms, and this is one of the rooms we subdivided. So this half is music, and the other side is the remainder part of the art room. And these are actually very nice spaces. Some schools have art on a cart or music on a cart because they don't have any room, but we're fortunate that we have at least been able to maintain an area for art and music. And there are so many bonus features in these next 2 first grade classrooms. For example, we have this lovely pipe that runs across the room, actually runs the whole length of the room and overhead. These rooms are really big. They're really nice, and the teachers have done a fantastic job making them attractive. But these were areas that I believe were not originally designed for classrooms. I think these were large open areas, and we actually created this wall here, put a wall here. We even have electricity running to it. We have cords everywhere. And there's Miss Smith, the teacher in this room. Hi, Miss Smith.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Hi.
She's got a brand new smartboard, and she is hard at work and has done a nice job making this an attractive room. She's got brick wall. You don't see that in many classrooms. Wood paneling and brick wall, there's a combination for you. But you can just see the cords and the wires and everything is everywhere. And there's her, we have a Wi-Fi hotspot right here. And then we'll come on into this room. I will say all of our learning areas are up to code. They're all safe. A lot of them have a lot of work, but in this room, for example, we have an exit, and it's alarmed. It's an emergency exit, and we worked with the fire department to make sure everything was up to code with this. And actually, a few years ago, put new steps in and did some other work when we had flooding issues. This area used to flood quite often, and the classroom would actually get wet, but we haven't had that issue for 4 or 5 years. But we also have pipes and stairs, and back behind here is a coat room and storage, believe it or not. Lots of cool little things. And we've got your wires and your pipes and your cords and your ceilings, and I mean, this is just
Jack, I think in the past too, we've talked about how over the years water has
yes,
sometimes been an
Yes.
issue with these basement level classrooms particularly.
correct.
Can you talk a little bit about that hindrance of an old building and
Sure, we actually used to have issues where this classroom, that classroom, on this floor would get water that would just come pouring in through the outside doors, through this door. In fact, that's one of the reasons these steps, believe it or not, are newer. The other steps were just warped so bad that we had to get rid of them. But the water would come in and would flood the classrooms. We'd have to get the carpets cleaned, move them to a different area. And then probably about the last 4 or 5 years, we've done some work to make it a more permanent fix. But again, a permanent fix is really only a temporary fix until the permanent fix wears out. But we haven't had the water issue in these classrooms for the last couple years, but it's correct. We've had lots of issues with water in this building. As I showed you upstairs, the top floor has taken a beating, and these 2 classrooms have taken a beating. And we also have an area out here you probably can see the daylight underneath these doors here. And so it's actually a lot better, but the daylight from underneath the doors, these doors, that's as good as they're going to get, would actually start a flood that would run its way out into here, and it would flood things all the way down that ramp. And while that might not look like a big deal to you, on the other side of that ramp, that's where all of our electrical boxes and all of our air handling and all of those things are in that room down there. And I'll show you really quick what that room looks like. We got to access it a different way, but water was a huge issue and still is an issue if we get a really heavy rain. But like I said, our temporary permanent fixes helped us the last couple years. You can see still even see watermarks on the concrete and various issues. If you stand here, when you're looking, you can tell that it's not even level at all. Take a look. If you're standing from here all the way into the corner where the door is going into Miss Smith's room, that's still soaking wet. It hasn't rained for days. But you can see just the level of the floor. And we'll go through, take a look at a couple more quick areas, and then I'll show you that area downstairs to finish out our tour. Those of you watching at home, if you're ever looking for a great workout, you could put this video on, and as we go up and down the stairs at Ely School, you could, pretend you're walking up and down the stairs at your house. This room in here is one of the areas we subdivided, and Miss Kaywood loves being on camera, so she's in here again.
working hard?
But this used to be a kindergarten classroom. It actually had the kindergarten potty over here, had the cloak room, and Still the original floor, but we did subdivide this room. The computer lab's on the other side, which I'll show you, and this is a teacher workroom. And again, this was all done after Cascade closed, when we absorbed kids in that neighborhood as well. Now, it's hot in this building, but it has nothing to do with this fireplace. And yes, this is a fireplace in a school. So the stories, and I've heard stories from many people in Elyria who went to Ely School when they were kids that are now senior citizens, and they've told me that this room at one time was a library, at one time it was an 8th grade classroom, it was a kindergarten classroom for many, many, many years, and now it's a computer lab. And I bet 1921, well, computers weren't even out yet because they weren't invented. But now it's a computer lab, and all of our computers are wireless. That's why you don't see the cords running on the floor or anything. We have some Wi-Fi hotspots right here in the computer lab. We do have challenges with the building this age and with the Wi-Fi hotspots, and as advanced as our staff is with technology utilization, there are times where there's so many people on devices that it sometimes makes the system slow. But our IT department has done a fantastic job watching our demand and our usage and increasing our capacity. But it's part of a growing pain. And this is, if you take a look at this, that you can see from the doors of the kindergarten, this was not built for what we're doing with this. This was actually an entrance area. And I found out from one of our neighbors, these are actually really hot items. So these were kindergarten kids' drawers. And I had one of the neighbors that lives about 3 doors down, and you know what, I don't know their names, but they're a really nice, sweet couple, and they walk their 3 dogs every day and stop by and say hi from time to time. If we ever tear down this building and get a new building, they would like one of the drawers, and I've already promised them they can have the nap drawers. But these are built into the floor into the school. This has a new floor because this room had the absolute worst floor I've ever seen in a building. I literally one day, and it's on video a few years ago, took a yardstick and flung one end of the yardstick, and it made a big bouncy sound. It had that much give between one end of the floor and the other end. But let's go take a look at the inner workings, the electrical area, and we'll finish off our tour that way. Fireplace does work, but we have the flue shut. We were tired of winged creatures coming in and invading our area.
I heard a cricket in one of the classrooms down there, so one of them got in.
I'm sure more than one got in, trust me. This is the wall. I'm kind of proud of this wall. This is my 12th year as principal here, and every one of these pictures are composite school pictures of all the years I've been principal here. So there's 11 up, and then this year it'll be 12 yet. All right, let's have some fun. There's my office, and there's actually all kinds of things on the wall that had to be added to make the building run. This is the old phone terminal. There's the new phone terminal. I have no idea what this says, but it says danger, so I don't sit by it anymore, but I covered up all the exposure. This is our bell system, and here's my radiator. And anyway. You can kind of peek through and see what the kids' restrooms look like. They certainly aren't modern at all. They have the original floors, they have those built-in cabinet type things, and they have pipes running everywhere. They're cleaned and painted each year, but It's not exactly the most attractive place in here. Oh, sorry. There's Alex, our head custodian.
Hello?
Alex just started last year, just became head custodian last week. He's doing a great job. And we're actually coming down to show them some of the hidden areas down here.
All right, any keys?
Nope, I'm good, and I'm not going to open this. This is the hallway of dungeon. We don't open this hallway, and it actually ends up in Mrs. Cavachici's room, but this is where all the underground nasty pipes and things like that nobody ever touches, and the people that come in to work down there put all kinds of masks and things on to even open that door. So that's why that's padlocked shut. And this is another, no, it's not a classroom. It's just a storage area. It could have been a classroom, but it floods in here too much. So that's why everything is up off the ground. You'll notice even on our paper racks, there's no paper on the bottom racks because paper is expensive and we don't want to lose it. But it rains, and you can see the elevation issue. Here's our courtyard out this window, and we're lower than the courtyard. We're lower than the ground here. So the water comes, and it comes in buckets. Bet you never knew this. Garbage cans are triple lined in the classrooms to avoid milk leaking through the bags. That's a great idea. I've never seen that before. Is that you?
Actually, no, but I've been trying to get the subsupply along.
So in this room, electricity in here. Lots of breakers, and we have breaker panels all throughout the building, and there is absolutely no rhyme or reason where different breaker panels are, because in one room I have breakers in 2 different boxes, actually, in one of the places, but it's these are the big ones. You could play Mad Scientist in here.
Yeah, that's a big main switch there.
Yep.
600 amp.
Yeah. I've never had to, but the funny thing is I do know how to shut off the boilers or the water or the electricity in an emergency. And speaking of boilers, ba-dum-bum, here we go. Let's see, that one. 1, 2, 3, and it is a good thing you can't smell at home, because it smells really nasty in here because of all the condensation. I mean, look at the wall, and you can see that we have water sometimes down in here. Well, you can see all the cracks in the wall too, but these 3 boilers is what makes our building hot on the days it's not 85 degrees out. In the winter, these boilers heat the building, and we typically run 2 boilers at any one time and have them rotating in a cycle, so that if one of them breaks down, we still have 2 boilers that can run. We've had times where we've had 2 boilers down and we've had to run on 1 boiler. But if we ever had all 3 boilers down at the same time, we wouldn't be able to have school, because this is the only way we get heat in the building, and these things are old. And I'm talking old. You don't see boilers like this anymore. All right. So again, this is an area that's susceptible to a lot of water. And these doors here are kind of hard to see in the dark. But if you remember outside when we were out and I talked about that valley where the water ran from the outside parking lot straight down that hill, here's where it is here, and there's actually daylight you can see, and so we would get a lot of water in this area. And that's why this area is pretty much cleaned out. In fact, if you take a look at that rolled up burlap type thing, that's all water damaged, and that's why that's still sitting here. But we don't store things in here anymore. We've had too many issues with water. And we will come around to show you a little bit more here. There's a hot water tank. There's another hot water tank over on that corner over there, a little more modern one. Back behind me in this area. And I'll show you one last spot. Okay, so those of you at home that have washers and dryers know how annoying it is when your washer or dryer is on at home. This is a far more annoying sound that just stays on all the time that we have our air handler on, which is what this unit is. And this is actually pumping up circulating air in the gym, because in the gym we don't have any actual natural air circulation. So this air handler handles this. But you can actually see the path water has taken over the years in this room. Starts over in that corner, ends up down here in the drain, and it's corroded all the way through the wall and the brick. All that's water corrosion. And we have our nice cracks along the wall. You can see there have been attempts at fixing some of this over the years, but it's time for it to go. It's lived its life. So, well, what better place to finish our tour but down here in the air handling room, looking up at the ceiling. I'm glad the rest of our school doesn't look like that, especially in that corner back behind me, but I hope you've enjoyed our tour of Ely School today and maybe learned a thing or two new. Thanks for coming along with me, and have a great day. Goodbye.